ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We love Great Britain. We love its history, its culture and its tradition, and that's why we're so proud to be part of GB News.
You look genuinely emotional. Oh, come here.
GB News does pay attention to those who are ignored by the mainstream media. The majority of this country whose forefathers fought and died to maintain liberty, to fight for freedom of speech.
The rule of law, the rights of property and democracy. This is the heritage that our country should be so proud of.
Which of course includes our Christian heritage. There's been a huge resurgence in the number of people going to church. Perhaps they're not finding what they're looking for, and they're looking for something a bit deeper, a bit more truthful, a bit more akin to Britain's Christian heritage.
That's right, get ready, because the most exciting night in general election history starts now!
Good evening, it's 9 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong, and have I got a show for you tonight?
We change our plan, not changing the conversation. Change and reform are coming.
So how much did the Prime Minister know about elite Labour activists' involvement in the smear campaign against Times journalist? An attack now called an egregious attack on press freedoms.
Explain to me and the House what the government's definition of Islamophobia actually is.
And we're actively considering our approach to Islamophobia, including definitions.
Well, tonight on the show, I'm going to give you the most comprehensive on-air look into the Islamophobia working group, of course, this report by the Free Speech Union, and the alleged ties to Islamists ever broadcast on British television. Plus,
start doing deals with the right, didn't you?
Well, that's a big if, right? And in that hypothetical scenario, you'd have to do it the patriotic thing. But ultimately, reform
so you
is
would have
reform.
To do the patriotic.
Well, no, but hold on.
Restore Britain, the new political party launched by Rupert Lowe just a few days ago. With more splintering, will the right ever unite? Well, Zia Youssef hasn't ruled it out.
Will you leave me alone? Get out of my face. Seriously? Move away from my business.
Well, a UK town is allegedly overrun with gangs of what they call feral young people. And is it any surprise, given that youth unemployment in Britain has now risen above the EU's? Is our government failing our children?
Need to call it for what it is.
Secretary
There is
Clinton.
a legitimate reason to have a debate about things like migration.
Well, Hillary Clinton's gone seemingly full Donald Trump. She's claimed that immigration has been too high and is destabilising for society. Also,
Nothing beats it. This is my idea of a holiday. I'm here at the site of the Rampion 2 wind farm.
Wherever he's going, I'm not there. Starmer has surrendered to the EU on net zero rules in another betrayal of Brexit. Joining me for what is going to be a massive show tonight is Labour councillor Sebastian Salek, former Conservative advisor Laura McEvitt, businessman and activist Adam Brooks is joining me too. Oh, and did we just receive, like, the biggest breaking news ever?
First question you wanted answered when you became president?
Where are the aliens?
This show's going to be intergalactic, trust me. Are aliens real? We're going to find out, but first let's get your news with Aaron Armstrong.
Thanks, Alex. Good evening to you at 9 o'clock here in the GB newsroom. Delighted to start with some good news. Team GB have made history as records tumbled on a Super Sunday at the Winter Olympics in Italy. Matt Weston and Tabitha Stocker took gold in the mixed team skeleton as Great Britain won 2 winter titles on the same day for the first time. Weston has become the first Briton to clinch 2 golds at any Winter Games after his individual success on Friday. And a little earlier, Charlotte Banks and Hugh Nightingale won the mixed team snowboard cross, Team GB's first ever title on snow. Great Britain had never previously won more than 1 gold at the same Winter Games. Chef de mission Eve Muirhead has hailed it the greatest day in British Winter Olympic history. The former Business Secretary Vince Cable says Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's dealings as a trade envoy should be investigated. It's reported the former prince passed on details about the £45 billion government bailout of Royal Bank of Scotland to the sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Sir Vince was reacting to allegations reported in the Mail on Sunday, accusing Andrew of dreadful, cynical behaviour. Mr Mountbatten Windsor, who was also accused of passing on information about Aston Martin, denies any wrongdoing. The Foreign Secretary's called for strong action against Russia after finding the Kremlin killed the political prisoner Alexei Navalny with frog poison. The UK and 4 allies say their analysis shows Moscow was responsible for the death of the opposition leader in a Russian prison 2 years ago. The Kremlin maintains he died of natural causes and dismisses the findings as a Western propaganda hoax. Ms Cooper was speaking at the Munich Security Conference, where she and the Prime Minister have urged European allies to stand up against the threat posed by Russia.
Only the Russian government had the means, the motive and the opportunity to use that toxin against Alexei Navalny in prison.
Reform UK's head of policy, Zia Youssef, has refused to rule out a right-wing coalition in future. His comments come amid claims the right could be divided following the launch of Rupert Lowe's new political party, Restore Britain. Well, speaking to GB News, Mr Youssef said Reform would have to do the patriotic thing in a worst-case scenario, but added the prospect of teaming up and doing deals is a big if. President Trump says members of his so-called Board of Peace have pledged more than £3.5 billion for Gaza. His announcement comes after Gaza's Civil Defence Agency says at least 12 people were killed and several more injured by Israeli airstrikes overnight. Israel says the strikes were in response to Hamas violations of the ceasefire. Hamas has described the attacks as a massacre of displaced people. Mr Trump has once again called for Hamas to disarm. And hundreds of thousands of people have joined worldwide demonstrations against the Iranian government. The biggest took place on the sidelines of the Munich Security Conference, where people responded to calls from the exiled son of the late Shah for a global day of action. Reza Pahlavi addressed around 250,000 people in Munich, and he called again for the overthrow of Iran's Islamic regime. There were also big crowds in Los Angeles and Toronto, with smaller protests in cities including Lisbon, Sydney and London. Thousands of Iranians were killed in a deadly crackdown on anti-government protests last month. Those are your headlines. I'll be back with more later, but now it is over to Alex.
The elite Labour group who propelled Keir Starmer to power smeared journalists using a report that contained false allegations. This is the most disgusting, shameless attack on the free press, on free speech, and on our democracy in modern British politics, with the stench once again wafting all the way to Downing Street. Labour Together, the elite Labour group that propelled Keir Starmer to Labour leader and funded over 100 MPs or so, hired a US firm in what smells like a revenge hit after the Sunday Times revealed Labour Together's undeclared £730,000 donation scandal. That expose by the Times led to Labour Together being hit with 20 breaches of election law, a fine from the Electoral Commission, and serious questions about Morgan McSweeney, Starmer's now former Chief of Staff, who only quit last week. Labour Together said that it proactively raised concerns about its own reporting of donations to the Electoral Commission in 2020, and since the findings have been made sure it's now compliant with all regulations. According to the Times, this top Labour group paid 36 grand for the US firm to conduct this report. It resulted in a 58-page dossier called Operation Cannon, which the journalists say was stuffed full of baseless smears and fake news. They refuted them as just doing their job, of course. Times reporter Gabriel Pogren's Jewish faith was dragged into all of this. His royal reporting was branded destabilising to the country, and seemingly without a shred of evidence, they linked this poor journalist to, guess what? Russia. Heard that a few times, haven't we? All while, by the way, he was and remains sanctioned by Russia. You can't make it up, could you? They didn't consult a single cybersecurity expert to verify these claims, and it seems like the Russia angle was pushed to discredit this legitimate reporting. All of this happened around the same time as the Prime Minister making speeches a bit like this.
We're trying not just to defeat the Tories, but to defeat their entire way of doing politics. A mindset that seeks out any differences between the people of this country and, like weeds between the paving stones, will pull apart the cracks so ultimately they can divide and rule. I have to warn you, they will leave no stone unturned this year. Every opportunity for division will be exploited for political potential. That's a given. But do not doubt for a second that we're ready for it.
Yeah, talking about how bad the Tories were, right? While that was going on in his back door. If this were a Tory or a Reform government or any right-wing government, have no doubt these same leftist activists and politicians would be calling for a police probe and a criminal investigation. I'd say you couldn't make it up, the sheer hypocrisy at least. But many will agree Labour is now the party of double standards and sleaze. So who's really surprised to read and hear more of it? All right, let's get the thoughts of my panel. Labour councillor Sebastian Salix joining me, former Conservative advisor Laura McKevitz here, and businessman and activist Adam Brooks too. Adam, I'll start with you. When I saw this headline last night, my jaw dropped. As we put, a lot of us here, including people on this panel, we put ourselves out there, we try and report very difficult things to the public. These Times journalists were doing their job. They reported a massive donation scandal at Labour Together. And what it seems like has happened, and I'm not saying this is entirely the case because they refute these claims, what it seems has happened is like someone's gone, oh, we better do something about these lot. They're saying it was because they wanted to find in where this leak had gone. But either way, you then don't take a report that contains false allegations, fail to verify it, and then send it off to the press as an attack on two people doing their job.
This is an attempt to silence journalists. Journalists, you may not like them, you may like them, you may not like them. If they uncover wrongdoing, which they had done, they've done their job. Labour, for me, are becoming more and more sinister. It's like a sort of Gestapo group. I hope that doesn't offend anyone. A Gestapo group that must find something and shut it down. They do not want to be challenged. They do not want all their wrongdoings out in the open. And there is a question. Did Keir Starmer know about this? Did he authorise it? That is the questions that need to be asked. And I suspect his immediate answer is going to be, this did not come across my desk.
Sebastian, I'll come to you. The Labour Party, in one way or another, is being... Every week, there is a sleaze scandal. This one, I think, is an egregious attack. And this is, of course, Labour Together is not affiliated directly to the Labour Party, but it's funded hundreds of MPs in their election campaigns. So in some way, you know, they're quite closely tied, including Morgan McSweeney, who's the Chief of Staff to the Prime Minister, worked for the Labour Together movement. Whatever's said here, this is a party that made itself out to be cleaner and purer than pure. You can't say that anymore, can you?
This is a really weird one, I've got to say. And look, I may be these days a Labour councillor, but I am by trade a journalist. And I would always defend the rights of journalists, as Adam says, to do their job, to investigate and to uncover stories like this one, which was worthwhile, and have a lot of respect for the work that Gabriel Pogron does and the team at the Times. Fantastic. Read them every day. Really essential to our democracy. What I'm still trying to figure out here is the basic facts. I mean, you've got a lot of different allegations flying around. I was drawn to a conversation between Josh Simons and Kevin Maguire at the Mirror, who spoke privately, and after that, Maguire rejected his claims that Simons shouldn't be a minister. So clearly he's managed to talk him down and to convince him that there was no wrongdoing here. Now, we don't know the details of that, but that I find very intriguing. The investigation that's going on now is into APCO, which is the firm that produced the report. Clearly, there are a lot of inaccuracies in that report. Clearly, Gabriel Pogron is not an agent of Russia. We must remember that the last time the PRCA, the body that governs agencies like this, carried out an investigation, it was into Bell Pottinger, and we know what happened to them. So I'll be watching that with a lot of interest, and I think that's probably the point where we get to see some real, irrefutable facts come out of this.
The thing that really caught me a little bit about this story, Lauren, was this Russia angle. We hear this all the time, and I said this last night, and I think it's exceptionally dangerous for our national security and for actual real threats of Russia when we constantly throw around, you're a Russian spy, you're paid off by the Russians to everyone and anyone, particularly when this report, you know, it went to, the Times allege at least that it went to GCHQ. They said, nah, we're not looking at that, that's a load of rubbish. They didn't bother to get a private cybersecurity firm to verify any of the claims. So really, the basic due diligence wasn't even done before they thought to use it as a weapon.
This whole thing is fascinating to me. APCO may be a US firm, but it's got a massive London office. It's been operating here for years. And as I work in communications and government affairs, and any client that you have ever, at some point, is going to call you and say, I have an announcement coming up, I want to give it to a journalist, I am a large oil producer, I'm about to strip mine some beach in Suffolk to reel oil out, and your advice is, well, I probably wouldn't go to Joe Bloggs at the Mirror about that one, I might go somewhere else. That's about the extent of like the intel you're giving about journalists. Is, you know, if you are wanting a story to go in a direction, you're trying to pinpoint which ones might actually sit down with you and not automatically call you a fascist land stripper. If you are, you know, an evil oil company. And so what Josh Simons then tweets about at the beginning of this month is that, and this is really weird, and he's going to have to stand this up at some point, is he said, we had been hacked and we asked APCO to investigate. I don't know of any scenario in the world where you have a hack and you call a PR firm.
Company. You call a cybersecurity
firm.
Of course you do.
And then if you find that you have been hacked in some way and you are a politically affiliated organisation, then, yeah, you go to GCHQ.
Well, I tell you when you would go to a PR company, when there's something that's in that hack that you wouldn't want getting out to the press, or you have to go into emergency.
No, what you then do is, you know, you call in a cybersecurity company, cybersecurity says, yes, you were hacked.
Yes.
We are taking it to GCHQ, at which point you call a PR firm to say, by the way, we were hacked.
That's right.
You don't call in a PR firm to investigate the concept of a hack.
Exactly.
And you don't call one in to just produce a dossier of apparently some really, really bad Googling. But having said that, power to APCO for billing 36 grand for it. My goodness, in terms of money for old rope, man, you guys have put the rest of us to shame. I wish I could behave this way, but I absolutely cannot. And I think that what's going to be fascinating in the next couple of days is sort of this concept that they have in US law of the fruit of the poisonous tree. Like, is everything that flows down from an original poisonous moment? Because all these guys were part of the Starmer project. They were all part of the Get a Moderate elected at the lead head of the
Labour sort of.
Not even New Labour, just like rehash post-Corbyn Labour. And, you know, that became Project Starmer, and that Morgan McSweeney was the big driving force behind that. And it's not necessarily about how much did he know, but also how much were they hiding from him, and therefore he should have known and did not, and all of it flows from poor leadership on his part. So actually it doesn't matter if he knew or not, because he should have known, and if he didn't, that's as bad as if he knew and sanctioned it.
Should he have if he did know, Keir Starmer, is that something that he should have reprimanded them, got rid of them?
Absolutely.
Maybe told the press that, you know...
Everybody involved in this is a political communicator. If you yourself are having to hire a political communications firm, you are not a good political communicator.
Well, this is
Stop blowing 36 grand on APCO.
Sebastian, regardless of all the semantics around this, and I do think I struggle to see a defence for Labour together here on this one, but I'm sure they will refute that and they will say they were innocent in all doing. Politicians are now famously being held to account for utilising information, and we've actually seen this in the authorities as well. The police got misled by a fake AI report, which is why led to some two-tier policing in the West Midlands. What is it that the British public expect better of their politicians, just to do some due diligence, or is this sort of, here, I've got a dossier here, why don't you go and smear these journalists for us? Is this sort of gutter politics actually just the style of the Labour Party and other political parties now?
Well, I think a really important point is that none of these people at the time were politicians. Granted, they've gone on to become them, and I hate briefing. I hate this kind of backroom activity in Westminster. It is just an unfortunate byproduct of the environment that exists there, and it always will in any political environment. So I would always advise politicians to stay away from this kind of behaviour. My warning will not be heeded. Of course it won't be. But I think that goes across all parties. It is just in the nucleus of political behaviour to do things like this.
Yeah, because you've got 2,000 egomaniacs in one postcode.
And Adam, you know, the Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, who, of course, this is not connected to him as far as we know. However, once again, people around him are being pulled into question. He is trusting these people almost seemingly blindly. Poor which, judgment. Again, the judgment question, it comes back again.
Terrible judgment. And that has been uncovered over and over again. Look, I must say, I would never hire this guy to defend me in court.
It's meant to be a forensic Prime Minister.
He's the least forensic person that I think I've ever seen in politics. The fact that that was his nickname is laughable.
Well, that's presumably why they're trying to delete the courts database, so we can't go into his prosecutorial record and work out what he was and wasn't asking.
I think that's a claim Mr McVeigh had made at some point in time. I can't remember where she said it.
Telling,
but that's it. Of course, I mean, we don't know whether that's the actual reason. I'm sure the government would refute that claim.
Obviously.
But look, I just think it is an egregious attack on journalists, these poor journalists who had their name dragged through the mud for no good reason because some people couldn't do the basic due diligence to check a report that they paid 30-something grand for was in any way, shape or form
accurate. But what's hilarious is the end product of this is Westminster has not spent the last 5 years believing that Gabriel Pogrund and Harry York did something wrong and hacked and leaked and were in Russia's pay, right? They haven't gone through the last 5 years believing that. They've gone through the last 5 years believing that Labour together failed in their electoral due diligence in a massive way.
That's true. They still win at the end of it.
Which means that this 36 grand bought them precisely nothing.
OK. All right, well, listen, Alison Phillips, now head of Labour Together, said the group was ready to support the PRCA and other relevant governance bodies with its review of this issue. APCO did not respond to requests for comment. Labour MP Josh Simon said APCO had betrayed beyond its brief, strayed indeed beyond its brief. He said, I was surprised and shocked to read the report extended beyond the contract by including unnecessary information on Gabriel Pogrund. I asked for this information to be removed before passing the report on to GCHQ. He said he welcomed the investigation launched last week by the Public Relations and Communications Association. All right, well, listen, if you would like a shot at winning a luxury holiday for 10 grand, holiday for two, 30 grand in tax-free cash, here's Hayley Sparks with all the details for it.
You could win cash and the ultimate holiday in our two-part Great British giveaway. Thanks to Riviera Travel, you could be jetting off on a £10,000 dream holiday for two people. With flights, transfers and luxury accommodation included, you'll get to choose the kind of holiday you want. So whether you're looking for hotel comfort or on a relaxing river cruise, you'll be able to find the perfect match from over 30 global destinations on offer. And because the holiday is handpicked with you in mind, you know it's is going to be perfect. Plus, we're going to give you £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. Your summer can start here, so make sure you don't miss out.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck. Coming up, I'm going to give you the most comprehensive look into the Islamophobia working group, or that bombshell report by the Free Speech Union, and of course the alleged ties to Islamists. And that's going to be the most comprehensive ever broadcast on British television, so stay tuned. But next,
need to call it for what it is.
Secretary
There is
Clinton.
a legitimate reason to have a debate about things like migration.
it's Hillary Trump, isn't it? Never thought I'd see that day. Listen, we'll be talking about whether or not Hillary Clinton's right next.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the
because
failure is...
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Hillary Clinton, do you remember her? Well, she's admitted there is a legitimate reason to debate migration, for the first time it seems, saying the system needs to be fixed, but what she calls in a humane way.
think we need to call it for what it is.
Secretary
There is a
Clinton.
legitimate reason to have a debate about things like migration. It went too far, it's been disruptive and destabilizing, and it needs to be fixed in a humane way with secure borders that don't torture and kill people.
Well, it comes as US Secretary of State Marco Rubio has been busy making headlines at the Munich Security Conference using the very same adjective to describe the issue.
Mass migration isn't some fringe concern of little consequence. It was and continues to be a crisis which is transforming and destabilizing societies all across the West. For we in America have no interest in being polite and orderly caretakers of the West's managed decline.
Well, with even senior Democrats now conceding the system is broken, is the political left finally recognizing the impact of mass migration? Well, we're now joined by Republican strategist Matthew Hurt and political commentator Justin Young. Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for joining me. Well, I saw this clip of Hillary today, and I was quite taken aback, to be honest with you, because, of course, even though she's not an elected member of the Democrat Party anymore, she's still very senior, and this is not really in tune with what you perhaps would expect for her to say. I'll start with you, Justin. What did you make of it?
You know, it sounded like her husband, you know, back in the 90s when the Clintons were thought of to be more shrewd political operatives. Hillary's career took a more leftward track as she became the main character. But in a bygone era, the Clintons were known for triangulation, finding where the richest pool of voters would be between these two different polar opposites. They understand, the Clintons do, that Donald Trump is underwater in his approval rating and his immigration policy is currently underwater. So ceding a little room so you can make your own point is kind of the game that they used to be good at. The Democrats too.
Yeah, Matthew, what do you make of it? Is Hillary taking a leaf out of Trump's book, just trying to find a new angle?
Well, Alex, Hillary and the Democrats spent a decade calling Donald Trump a Nazi for adopting the same immigration policy as President Clinton did in the 90s. And in fact, President Obama from 2009 to 2016 deported even more people than President Trump has deported in aggregate. What we saw in the Obama administration was cities cooperating with ICE, municipalities cooperating with ICE, and immigration services. And so this is a lurch to the right, knowing that the American people believe in secure borders and believe in an immigration system that keeps our streets safe.
Yeah, Justin, it's a good point, isn't it? Because the left in America, we see it here in the UK, we see clips of it. Of course, I speak to my colleagues in Washington, D.C. But we see there's quite a big uprising against ICE doing their jobs, which has, inevitably led to more violence, more political disruption. Justin, is there a place to have a new conversation on the left about immigration now? Has Trump's message, maybe the execution has gone down badly, but has his message about mass migration destabilising the country actually broken through on the, let's say, centre-left?
I honestly believe that a part of where Donald Trump has gotten himself into unpopular territory here is because he did successfully secure the border, which had bedeviled America for decades and decades, and now is just kind of not even talked about anymore. But he's got a real problem with DHS, and he has a real problem with his secretary, Kristi Noem, and her boyfriend, that bafflingly is still allowed to work in that office. And it's not just me saying it; it's a lot of people to the Wall Street Journal at the end of the week last week. It's Tom Homan, the guy who's now stepped up and is a more steady hand at the wheel. But ICE and Customs and Border Patrol has been a problem when you have protesters that are shot dead in the streets, whether or not you agree that they were in the right place or the right time or they were doing anything illegal. Americans don't like seeing it, and they haven't liked seeing it up until now. So that gives political opportunity for elders like the Clintons to try and steer their party in a certain direction. Now, this is the same party that allowed them under pain of going to jail to be forced to testify in front of Congress. So it remains to be seen whether or not the Democrats will listen to them.
Matthew, what do you make of that?
You know, what is interesting to see is in the Obama administration, CNN, actually, the national news organization here in the States, actually tacked on with ICE and followed them as they carried out deportation orders. I do think it's an interesting point about the murders in a couple of instances in Minnesota. What we see here are radical, organized leftist activists who are engaged proactively with obstructing justice on the ground in places like Minneapolis. We don't see it in cities like Houston. We don't see it in other cities across the country. It is an organized and provocative, deliberate effort to engage with law enforcement to obstruct federal orders.
Justin?
Americans want to see them in jail then. They don't want to see them dead on the streets. And when you have somebody who I tend to agree with was probably far too aggressively in the face and probably faced felony charges, you don't want to see him shot multiple times in the back. And that's where it doesn't matter what the justification is, doesn't matter where we got to that situation. If people see that, they don't like it. And that Donald Trump has had a net negative immigration record because of it.
Matthew, does it matter? Is Donald Trump in a sort of space now where he is technically a lame duck president since he was elected, right? Because he can't be re-elected again, at least by the rules of the Constitution. So is he really in a position where he says, well, I just don't care. I can carry on doing what I want to do anyway. I can pass executive orders, to a large extent at least. So is he too worried about how people view him anymore?
Well, with executive orders, they could just be undone in the next administration. What I think is important on immigration is that the American people see positive change, and there have been some horrifying instances in Minneapolis, which have raised the ire of the American viewer, particularly as we head into a midterm election this November. If Americans think the borders are secure, if they think their streets are safe, that's good news. If they think, however, that federal agents are engaged in unlawful execution of American citizens, that's going to be a serious talking point. And I do think that Donald Trump does want the Republican Party to continue to have success. We're looking at the back 2 years of his second term from 2027 to 2029, and he must have a Republican House and a Republican Senate to get anything done for the long term.
Interesting stuff. Gentlemen, very, very sensible debate. We need to get you over here to teach Brits how to debate properly. Normally they're shouting each other over my screen. So thanks very much for having a very civilised conversation. Matthew Hurt and Justin Young there. Thank you, gents. See you soon. Coming up, I'm going to give you the most comprehensive on-air look into the Islamophobia working group. That's a report done by the Free Speech Union today. And we're going to be going into these alleged ties to Islamists. It's going to be the biggest in-depth look ever broadcast on British television. But next.
Will you leave me alone? Get out of my face. Seriously? Move away from my business.
Yeah, teen gangs have been terrorising a Greater Manchester town. Is it a sign of the UK's record youth employment? Are the British government letting our kids down? That's next.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're heading to Europe this half term, well, it's a mixed bag out there. Outbreaks of rain and some heavy showers and thunderstorms. Best of the sunshine, though, really confined to the Canary Islands and towards the south of Spain. Otherwise, outbreaks of rain across Portugal and northern Spain. Across the Mediterranean, that's where we're going to see areas of showers and thunderstorms pushing their way through. Otherwise, best of the sunshine really across the Canary Islands, highs of 25.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's been an unsettled end towards the weekend, which will spill over into Monday and be an unsettled start to the week. But as we head towards Tuesday, we do see the return of some sunshine and some brighter spells. But for the time being, though, we still have this larger low pressure system in charge, and we do have these weather fronts coming in this northwesterly breeze, which is driving these showers through much of the evening and through the overnight period. There are a few breaks across the southeast and across across the northeast as well. Now, across the northeast, the temperatures are likely to fall away, so we are expecting to see a bit of a frost across Aberdeenshire by Monday morning. Not so much towards the south. We are clinging on to relatively milder air for this time of year for the overnight period. But for the commuters, first thing Monday morning, there will be some brighter spells across southeastern England and across the southwest as well. But further north, we do have much more in the way of cloud, and a lot of these showers, especially across northern Scotland and those high hills, are likely to turn to snow by the early part of the morning. Like I said, a crisp start across Aberdeenshire. Likely to see some frosty patches here, so do take care first thing in the morning. But Monday is going to be a similar day towards Sunday. A lot of those showers around. Some of them could combine towards longer spells of rain across central and southern England. But between those showers, there will be some sunnier spells as well across the south and northeast of England, even parts of northern Scotland as well. But some wintry showers up towards here, which will be rather cold and snowy across those higher hills. Tuesday, a different story. A cold start to Tuesday. Plenty of frost and ice around Scotland, northern England and Northern Ireland, but bright, plenty of sunshine. A few showers just across the northeastern coast, maybe a little bit hazy towards the southwest. But through the week, we will see the return of rain, but temperatures, we will be struggling, and it will be on the cold side.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
and you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This really caught my eye today. A Greater Manchester town says it's being terrorised by gangs of youths that are running the streets, as locals have reported groups of up to 50 teenagers throwing rocks at passers-by, hurling abuse at business owners and racing through the roads on e-bikes. Well, a video from the town of Ashton, which we will not show, by the way, described by a local councillor as making him feel physically sick, showed a young girl being dragged and repeatedly hit outside a local store. This is not just a silly story here, this is quite serious. It also comes as another story that I caught my eye, because youth unemployment in Britain has climbed above Europe's for the first time since records began in the 2000s. And I brought my panel back in here to discuss this topic because I think there's plenty to get into. Adam, you've worked a lot on youth violence and knife crime. It is quite a damning indictment on Britain that we're now... I mean, if you're a Londoner, you might have been to Westfield, Stratford Shopping Centre before, and there are others available. I used to go there years ago. I wouldn't go in there now. There's kids running around from 16 to 18-year-olds causing grief. All those security guards
where
have
they
been so
chucked
busy.
the footstool off the side.
It was.
I was
there Friday, and you're right.
Yeah.
There is no deterrent for crime in this country. We have a government now. I've got a knife crime petition out there with a former police officer, a government petition. We're asking for 5-year mandatory sentences for carrying a knife, 3 years for juveniles. That would make a lot of people think twice about carrying a knife. We have a government that has now basically said, you're not going to be prosecuted if you're carrying a knife. We'll give you a cuddle and a little sort of telling off and counselling session. That's going to make things worse. With places like this, we need harsher policing, stop and search, like Mayor Giuliani did in New York, sorted out violent crime in New York. And that was with stop and search, that was with aggressive policing and bigger deterrence in the prison system. We have a TikTok generation now that gets clout and likes and popularity through acting disgustingly and as extreme as they can. And that's what a lot of this stems from now. People pushing the limits to get clout, to get more attention online. Their whole life, some of them don't want to work. And that ties in with the unemployment numbers. They think that they can earn money off sitting, you know, gaming on TikTok or doing these silly things and getting likes. And that is a generation that we've got.
Sebastian, is it fair to sort of brand young people as a bit hopeless here? Youth unemployment is now the highest on record. It's never been this high before. It's obviously under this Labour government. And many people are pointing to minimum wage increases and the lack of jobs. Unemployment itself is ticking up and up and up. We've also got a government that has just enabled the Eurasia programme to be the youth programme for European students.
Erasmus.
Erasmus, that was what I was looking for. Thank you. The Erasmus programme to come over here, which will again not be very good for young people looking for jobs, particularly as it massively is disproportionate to Europeans wanting to come here as the other way round. It's a disaster, isn't it? They're not thinking about young people whatsoever.
I think that's really unfair. Look, every generation likes to dunk on young people. It happened when I was young. We were told we were lazy, we were told all the rest, and now we're saying it about them.
Avocado toast will never buy houses.
Exactly.
It's kind of true, though, that one.
Yeah, that one.
Well, that one's kind of true, yeah.
I mean, look, is there an issue with youth unemployment? Of course there is. There's a big problem and that has to be addressed. We have to look at it in context, though. Saying that it's overtaken European youth unemployment ignores the fact that European youth unemployment is coming down steadily. Remember, back in the heydays of the 2010s, you had Greece, Portugal, Spain, all of those southern European countries. Some of their youth unemployment rates were above 50%. It was really, really catastrophic. Unfortunately, we've seen that improve. So it is not as devastating as it looks to be. I mean...
But it is quite devastating when we're now you're right to say European youth unemployment has actually started to come down and flatline, but ours is going up.
Yes.
Right? So there is clearly an issue here for us. We've always been, you know, it's on average 3 or 4% lower than Europe. And now in the last, you know, since the government has taken over, it's gone up for the first time ever. It's quite a damning indictment on Labour's policy to get young people working.
I mean, it's one data point, isn't it? I don't think any single data point like that can be a damning indictment.
A very important data point.
Yeah.
Well, it is a very important data point. Adam, I'll come back to what you were saying about what Labour's doing on young people and knife crime, because this is really important as well. They have introduced now a plan to require every child who's caught carrying a knife to go through mandatory assessments, mandatory plans to stop them from reoffending. So that could be social skills training. It could be...
Oh, are they going to have one of those games like we did on the Prevent programme?
Yeah, that was fun.
That'll work. That'll absolutely nail it.
But I think that actually just made more kids right-wing, by the way, by
didn't the purple-haired girl become like her own meme?
Yeah, she became famous.
Yeah, it's going to go really well.
But I understand what you're...
It's a bit facetious, isn't it?
I understand what you're...
We all agree this is important, and now government's doing something about it. We're criticising it.
I welcome any attempt to tackle these things, but we've even got here, right, the CEO of Tesco saying this worklessness epidemic is threatening the economy. Young people used to fill those jobs. I worked at Tesco stacking shelves, right? Those jobs are gone now because we flooded the country full of cheap labour. A lot of that work, a lot of those people then go and work in Tesco's and do these lower-end paid jobs. It's not their fault, by the way. We invited them here legally to do that
Well, let's not forget the sort of the other end of this. This is a Resolution Foundation report that was doing the rounds again on Twitter a couple of days ago, talking about how you improve productivity in the United Kingdom. Buried within it, and this is why it's so dangerous that Torsten Bell is in the Treasury, buried within this report is one of the best ways to improve productivity is to blow a hole in hospitality. And that's exactly what we do.
I'm a pub owner.
I know that.
Right, so...
I've seen you on the television.
Yeah, so for me to hire more staff has been made a lot more expensive by the last 2 budgets. I stand by what I've said on many times on here. The National Insurance contributions hike is possibly one of the worst budget decisions in 25 years. OK?
So I saw a great calculation on this the other day. How expensive do you think, if you were to take on, like, a minimum wage pot washer...
Right.
And that's what, like 23,000 a year. Yeah. How much does that person cost the company?
I'd have to ask my accountant.
Because it's not 23 grand. And I saw a chef say that he estimated it was 45 grand to employ that person.
About right.
It's just a lot of money now, and that's why a lot of people are not hiring. They're laying people off, and it is down to the government's
So what are the options for children or for young people going into employment then? It's you're an Amazon, a back office worker, you're a Tesco, none of which are actually as fun as, being a drone operator and irritating people in their gardens, or you know, being a content creator on TikTok or putting makeup on your face and saying that it's content creation.
But this is the thing, and this is a part of this that we're not talking about, is that we live in a radically different world to even when I was 16 and looking for my first job. You have got the whole world as your market now. It requires a new skill set, and it's not something anybody's teaching anyone. You've got to go and seek it out yourself. But you can sell to anybody, and you can sell anything. So there are ways for young people to go out there and start businesses.
A lot of them don't want to work. Just quickly, my 16-year-old is scaffolding 3 days a week whilst he does a college course.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to do that. He is because he wants money.
All right, listen, coming up on the show, of course, I'm going to deliver the most comprehensive look into the Islamophobia working group, of course, on the back of that Free Speech Union damning indictment, I think it is, but we'll get into that later. Next, has the Prime Minister surrendered to EU net zero rules? That's coming up.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk then? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Prime Minister is facing fresh criticism tonight over plans to move more closely align, at least, Britain's net zero strategy with the European Union's. The Cabinet Office communication has revealed proposals for a so-called dynamic alignment with Brussels, which would require the UK to decarbonise not just electricity, but also heating and transport at a much quicker rate. In practice, this could see net zero targets doubled, leading to drastic measures such as reducing meat consumption and restrictions on flying, wood fires and, of course, driving. Well, joining me to discuss this is Head of Policy at Global Warming Policy Foundation, Harry Wilkinson. Harry, thank you very much for joining me this evening. Britain surely cannot stomach any more of speeding up of net zero. It is already driving people into the ground, making people poor. Surely we just need to be drill baby drilling.
Well, good evening. I think this is a sign of what we've had from this government, which is a consistent trend of wanting to bind the hands of future governments, whether it's the Chagos deal, whether it's Ed Miliband's signing renewable energy contracts that last for a whole 20 years, and now this deal with the EU that looks like it will lock us in to the EU's net zero approach. Now, you know, we do have legally binding targets to meet net zero here in the UK right now, but it's clear that we need to get off this net zero straitjacket, which of course leads us to actually decarbonize every sector of the economy. So that will lead to, as you say, people's choices about what they eat being limited, how they heat their homes. And of course, we've been seeing electricity prices rise and rise. Now, what's most concerning in the immediate term is the impact on carbon prices. We're in at the moment what's known as the UK emissions trading scheme, and this applies a price of carbon onto all of the electricity that we consume, because it's gas in the UK that sets the marginal price of electricity. And that's because it can ramp up or ramp down to actually balance supply and demand in real time. And it's vital that you have that there, because otherwise you would have a grid that wasn't functional. But it does mean that if you apply a tax to that gas-powered electricity, all the electricity that you buy in the wholesale electricity market will go up in price. And so when when Starmer announced that he was looking at this deal with the EU to align closer to their rules, we saw an instant bump in UK ETS prices. And if we join the EU ETS in the future, we'll be locked in potentially to paying higher carbon prices. And that will affect electricity. It also affect, you know, cement, steel, ceramics, all these important industries which are the bedrock of our industrial capacity. Now, even, you know, free market orientated people would recognize that in this current geopolitically unstable landscape, we may need to take, you know, dramatic action to make sure we have the industrial base that we need. But this new announcement means that we might be tied by state aid rules as well, limiting us from investing maybe in nuclear, maybe in steel, these important industries that could be vital in a crisis. And if we can't deliver those kind of products here in the UK, we're going to be increasingly vulnerable.
Harry, very, very briefly, if you don't mind for me, because we're running out of time, but what is the other solution here? What is the ideal solution for British people right now when it comes to energy policy?
Well, we have to get outside of the net zero straitjacket, because if that's our objective, it overtakes getting the cost of energy down, it supersedes keeping people warm, keeping the poorest people in our society from having the energy they need to stay warm and to heat their houses and to use the services that they need. So we have to get outside of that straitjacket. And, you know, the only way we can do that if we're not constrained by having to meet net zero because we're in the EU rules as well.
Indeed. Harry Wilkinson, thank you very much for joining me as Head of Policy at Global Warming Policy Foundation there. The government spokesman said the outcome from exploratory talks is clear that any overall target for renewable energy would be purely indicative, and there would be no targets for industry sectors, transport, building, heating and cooling. Officials stress that, according to proposals, the UK would be involved as an early stage in the decision-shaping process. Listen, up next, I have the most definitive look at this new Islamophobia report put out by the Free Speech Union today. I am going to be digging into every single aspect of it. You will not want to miss that one. See you in a tick.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's been an unsettled end towards the weekend, which will spill over into Monday and be an unsettled start to the week. But as we head towards Tuesday, we do see the return of some sunshine and some brighter spells. But for the time being, though, we still have this larger low-pressure system in charge, and we do have these weather fronts coming in this northwesterly breeze, which is driving these showers through much of the evening and through the overnight period. There are a few breaks across the southeast and across across the northeast as well. Now, across the northeast, the temperatures are likely to fall away, so we are expecting to see a bit of a frost across Aberdeenshire by Monday morning. Not so much towards the south. We are clinging on to relatively milder air for this time of year for the overnight period. But for the commuters, first thing Monday morning, there will be some brighter spells across southeastern England and across the southwest as well. But further north, we do have much more in the way of cloud, and a lot of these showers, especially across northern Scotland and those high hills, are likely to turn to snow by the early part of the morning. Like I said, a crisp start across Aberdeenshire. Likely to see some frosty patches here, so do take care first thing in the morning. But Monday is going to be a similar day towards Sunday. A lot of those showers around. Some of them could combine towards longer spells of rain across central and southern England. But between those showers, there will be some sunnier spells as well across the south and northeast of England, even parts of northern Scotland as well. But some wintry showers up towards here, which will be rather cold and snowy across those higher hills. Tuesday, a different story. A cold start to Tuesday. Plenty of frost and ice around Scotland, northern England and Northern Ireland, but bright, plenty of sunshine. A few showers just across the northeastern coast, maybe a little bit hazy towards the southwest. But through the week, we will see the return of rain, but temperatures, we will be struggling, and it will be on the cold side.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's only 2 weeks remaining to see how you could win a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash. Plus, we could be sorting out your summer with an incredible holiday for two worth £10,000, courtesy of Riviera Travel. You'll get to choose from 47 tours in over 30 worldwide destinations. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 10 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong. Tonight,
we change our plan. Not changing the conversation. Change and reform are coming.
Yeah, how much did the Prime Minister know about elite Labour activists' involvement in the smear campaign against the Times journalists? Some are calling it an egregious attack on press freedoms. And breaking this evening, the Conservative Party has written to Labour Party chairwoman Anna Turley, urging her to investigate Mr. Josh Simons, a Labour MP, his role in the decision to hire the PR firm that they decided to use for this smear campaign, APCO.
He's explained to me and the House what the government's definition of Islamophobia actually is.
And we're actively considering our approach to Islamophobia, including definitions.
I'm going to give you the most comprehensive on-air look into the Islamophobia working group off the back of Free Speech Union's bombshell report that alleges ties to Islamists. It'll be the biggest one ever broadcast on British television. Plus,
you have to start doing deals with the right, didn't you?
Well, that's a big if, right? And in that hypothetical scenario, you'd have to do it the patriotic thing. But ultimately, reform
so you
is
would have
reform.
To do the patriotic.
Well, no, but hold on.
of course, we're talking about Restore Britain, the new political party launched by Rupert Lowe just a few days ago. With more splintering, will the right of British politics ever unite? Well, Zia Youssef hasn't ruled it out, and
need to call it for what it is.
Secretary
There is
Clinton.
a legitimate reason to have a debate about things like migration.
Hillary Clinton's gone full Donald Trump, hasn't she? She's claimed that immigration has been too high and has been a destabilising force for society. Also,
nothing beats it. This is my idea of a holiday. I'm here at the site of the Rampion 2 wind farm.
sorry, I should have given you a trigger warning on that one. Of course, Keir Starmer surrenders to the EU net zero rules in another betrayal of Brexit. Joining me tonight to talk about all these big topics, Labour councillor Sebastian Salek, former Conservative advisor Laura McEvitt, businessman and activist Adam Brooks. Oh, and did we get, like, the biggest breaking news ever?
First question you wanted answered when you became president?
Where are the aliens?
Interesting. We're going to find out whether there are aliens. That's coming up in this huge 2 hours of our show left. But first, let's get your news with Aaron Armstrong.
Thank you very much indeed. Alex, let's get you up to date with the headlines at 2 minutes past 10. The Conservatives are calling for an investigation into links between the government and a Labour think tank accused of investigating journalists who reported on its funding. Labour Together, the group that helped make Sir Keir the party leader, is accused of hiring a US public affairs firm to investigate the backgrounds and motivations of reporters from the Sunday Times and The Guardian, which ran stories about secret donations. The subsequent report falsely suggested they were part of a Russian conspiracy. The Sunday Times claims APCO Worldwide was paid £36,000 to carry out the investigation in 2023. When the think tank was run by Josh Simon, now Labour MP from Makerfield and a Cabinet Office Minister. Now, the Foreign Secretary has called for strong action against Russia after finding the Kremlin killed the political prisoner Alexei Navalny from frog poisoning. The UK and 4 allies say their analysis showed Moscow was responsible for the death of the opposition leader in a Russian prison 2 years ago. The Kremlin maintains he died of natural causes and dismissed the findings as a Western propaganda hoax. Yvette Cooper was speaking at the Munich Security Conference, where she and the Prime Minister have urged European allies to stand up against the threat posed by Russia.
Only the Russian government had the means, the motive and the opportunity to use that toxin against Alexei Navalny in prison.
Well, let's turn now to the Reform's UK head of policy, Zia Youssef, who has refused to rule out a right-wing coalition. His comments come amid claims the right could be divided following the launch of Rupert Lowe's political party Restore Britain. Now, the pictures you're seeing right now are part of a protest against government plans to build a brand new town near the village of Adlington in Cheshire. More than 20,000 new homes are set to be built on green belt land. We'll turn to President Trump, who says members of his so-called Board of Peace have pledged more than £3.5 billion for Gaza. His announcement comes as Gaza's Civil Defence Agency says at least 12 people were killed and several more injured by Israeli airstrikes. Israel says the strikes were in response to Hamas violations of the ceasefire. Hamas has described the attacks as a massacre of displaced people. Mr. Trump has again called for Hamas to disarm. Hundreds of thousands of people have joined worldwide demonstrations against the Iranian government. The biggest of those took place on the sidelines of the Munich Security Conference, where people responded to calls from the exiled son of the late Shah for a global day of action. Reza Pahlavi addressed around 250,000 people calling for the overthrow of Iran's Islamic regime. And we will take you to the pictures you were just seeing. That was clearly Team GB's successes at the Winter Games, because it's been a historic Super Sunday for Team GB. Matt Weston and Tabitha Stocker took gold. In the mixed team skeleton, as Great Britain won 2 winter titles on the same day for the first time. Weston has become the first Briton to clinch 2 golds at a Winter Games after his success on Friday. And that success followed Charlotte Banks and Hugh Nightingale, who won the mixed team snowboard cross gold, Team GB's first ever on snow. And that is it for the moment. I'll be back with more at 11 o'clock.
All right, welcome to the show, everybody. Let's start with this, shall we? Islamophobia laws are being drawn up by people with connections to Islamists behind closed doors. This is the damning indictment by the Free Speech Union in a new report they've published today. Tonight, I'm going to walk you through some of the Islamophobia working group members and detail the FSU's claims that they are connected to Islamists and some other concerns that may raise your eyebrows as to how this Islamophobia definition may attack free speech in Britain. Let's start with their chair. This is Dominic Grieve-Casey, former Tory Attorney General. He once warned multiculturalism's political correctness threatened free speech and said some Muslim views were incompatible with pluralist democracy. However, the FSU report states that his views seemingly changed after he consulted with the Muslim Council for Britain and Muslim Engagement and Development Group MEND, including MEND's Wales Regional Manager Sahar Al-Faifi. Al-Faifi is alleged to have shared a post on social media that linked pro-Zionists to the 2017 London Bridge terror attack. Al-Faifi was suspended as a member of Plaid Cymru in 2019, but reinstated in 2020. She later deleted the posts and admitted that some of her posts had crossed the boundary of criticism of Israel into anti-Semitism. Grieve wrote the foreword to the 2018 parliamentary group report pushing the line Islamophobia is racism. Grieve chaired a 2017 Citizens Commission advised by the Muslim Council for Britain's Mohammed Abdul Bari and MEND's other figures. Now he's leading this working group. All right, that's the first one. Let's go to the next one. Akila Ahmed, MBE, pictured here on the right, the CEO of the British Muslim Trust, an organisation already handed millions in government grants despite only being operational in autumn 2025. Well, this Free Speech Union report alleges that these grants took place after critics smeared another anti-Muslim hate group called Tel Mama. Ahmed now co-chairs the British Muslim Network with Kari Asim pictured on the left. Now, Kari Asim was sacked by the last government after backing calls for a film about Prophet Muhammad's daughter to be banned. Now, Mr. Asim said he did not attend or organise any of the protests that the government's contention he had acted to undermine democratic values was inaccurate. Another member of the working group, Baroness Shaista Ghori, she is a member of the Muslim Women's Network. She allegedly appeared to tweet support for Hamas in 2014. She wrote a report branding talk of Muslim grooming gangs over-representation as Islamophobic. She also wrongly accused Manchester police of racism and Islamophobia over the now airport Manchester attack. It later emerged The peer had named the wrong police force involved in the incident, and the officers involved from West Midlands Police were later cleared of any wrongdoing, of course. Baroness Sahista was also accused by the Times of hosting an extremist in Parliament during an event. Halim Kel-Allah, the man in question, in June 2025, held a watch party at his restaurant celebrating Iranian ballistic missile attacks on Israel. The Baroness denies inviting the man directly and was not in charge of the invite list. Another member of this working group is trustee of a think tank called UQI, a group born out of the UK Muslim community, as is stated, by the way, on their website. It allegedly pushes government campaigns against misinformation on Muslims. Now, this member spoke at the Muslim Impact Forum launch, featuring CAGE's Asim Qureshi, who had previously called Jihadi John beautiful. He later stated he regretted the inappropriate comments. Finally, another member of the group ran for Respect Party, George Galloway's outfit, of course, who has been previously accused of having links to extremists. I want to be clear. All the claims in this report I've delivered tonight are allegations made within the Free Speech Union's report, and nobody named has committed any crime or is being accused of any wrongdoing, nor are they deemed to be extremists themselves. However, if any of what I've just said, any of these connections happen to be somehow true, it should raise serious questions about the alleged connections between radical Islam and those writing these definitions. And even more serious is Angela Rayner's judgment, who would have signed off on this group as it was her ministry that set it up in the first place. All right. Joining me now to discuss this report, of course, is External Affairs Officer for the Free Speech Union, Connie Shaw. Connie, thank you very much for joining me. How did this report come to be? Because it's quite a damning indictment on this panel, in my opinion. Again, they haven't done anything wrong, but I don't think this sets us up for a definition of Islamophobia that would lend very well to free speech in Britain.
Well, precisely, Alex. Now, this report has been written by our new research director, David Rose, who has a long career in investigative journalism. And of course, we've been campaigning against the Islamophobia definition, which this government is drawing up for a long time at the Free Speech Union. And I think it's very important that the public know the types of people who are on this working group that this Labour government has selected. Of course, when the government first created the plan to come up with this definition, they said, and it subsequently turns out that they lied, that they would create a working group that would reflect a wide range of perspectives. Now, not only do every single one of these 5 members believe in the need for this Islamophobia definition, but as you have just lined out, there are some extremely disturbing links. So how this government at all can claim that this is a fair and balanced working group when there are members of society such as Fayez Magool, who runs Tell Mama. He has been campaigning against anti-Muslim discrimination and hatred for a very long time, but he is very much against this Islamophobia definition. He would have been one of the most obvious candidates for this group in any event, let alone the fact that there was a need for a balanced discussion on this working group. Other people like Pragna Patel, she's a Muslim feminist who previously expressed concerns at the 2018 definition when she said or suggested that having this definition would perhaps put Muslim women at risk, making discussions about the sorts of harm that Muslim women might face in their own communities extremely difficult. And now, this, from the beginning of this working group, the public have been in the dark about what is going on. I'll remind viewers that the call for the consultation for the definition was sent out on the day that Yvette Cooper announced the national inquiry into the grooming gangs. So it was done, and obviously that was going to dominate the news story, the news of that day. But can you imagine how eerie that is? That on the day that that the consultation was sent out, it was the very day that the inquiry into the grooming gangs was announced. And I'll just point your views. You may well have already started to talk about the front pages for tomorrow. The front page of the Telegraph is about our Free Speech Union member Hamid Koskan, who was convicted by the CPS for stirring up religious hatred because he burnt a copy of the Quran. Now, we overturned that at an appeal, and now the CPS wants to make sure he is found guilty. And the US have now said that if he loses his case that's happening this week, that they will accept him as a refugee from the UK.
Yeah, Connie, it is an absolutely damning indictment on the state of Britain in 2026, isn't it? Thank you so much for joining me this evening, Connie, to give us some more flavours to what's been going on here. I really appreciate it, and the work being done at the Free Speech Union. Thank you very much, Connie. I've, of course, got my fantastic panel here with me. Adam Brooks, I'll start with you. I am deeply, even more so now, concerned about this definition of Islamophobia that's gone back and forth. The Labour government are pussyfooting around with it because they're, one, worried about the general British public's reaction to it, and two, seemingly worried about Muslim people's reaction to it as well, because I'm hearing reports that they're going to delay it because they're worried about upsetting the Muslim vote as well. The reality is nobody wants this. Nobody wants this. Why is it still going on, even though Angela Rayner's left office and it was her baby?
We've got sectarianism in our politics throughout now, from councils up until number 10. That's unbelievable that it's happened so fast in this country. No one should target anyone for their religion, no one. But you must freely be able to criticise, mock, if that's your thing, anyone. Now, I speak about the Church of England and the Catholic Church and about the historic sex crimes and things. You know, I do mock the church for that, and I've called out many archbishops and priests and whatever. But I'm never labelled Christianophobic. Why is that? I'm never threatened if ever I do that. Yet, we must be able to speak about grooming gangs that were part of the Muslim community. We must be able to talk about migrant hotels without fear of someone clamping down and saying you can't say that because a few of them were Muslim. Again, this is not targeting any religion, but one religion cannot have any more protection than another. And this definition, I believe, will grant that. And that is very dangerous for free speech, very dangerous for our politics in the UK.
Sebastian, I'll come to you. You know, it really does. If anything in this report is accurate, and of course a lot of it is alleged, if any of it is accurate, it would raise serious questions about the judgment of Angela Rayner, who is one of the front runners, if not the front runner, to be your next party leader. You're going to have a similar situation where Angela Rayner might become Prime Minister and has just as poor judgment as the previous Prime Minister.
Well, look, I'm not going to take the legal risk of getting into the details of this report, but we have to be really clear on the facts here. We're talking, I've heard the words Islamophobia laws used tonight, and let's be really clear, this is not Islamophobia, this is anti-Muslim hatred, and these are not laws, these are purely advisory. So nobody is going to be facing the weight of the law for saying things that are Islamophobic unless they violate existing laws that we have against hate speech. So if you're worried about your free speech being curtailed, you can sleep easy tonight. It's going to be fine. But what we are doing...
We have these laws in place already, Sebastian. Well, we don't need more laws. In fact, I don't want any religion to have any kind of special laws for them. I don't think they should exist at all.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. We're not... This is not a law. This is advisory. And what it means is that people who are Muslim, who are, for example, working in companies, have greater certainty over what can and can't be said about them. And in a country that is predominantly Christian, and to your point, Adam, I think when you criticise Christianity, you are punching up. When you criticise minority religions, you are punching down. And we owe it to ourselves to be protecting Muslims, Jews, Hindus, people from minority religions by giving these clear definitions of what it means to be rude towards them.
Is there such a thing as is it a minority religion?
Of course it is.
Is it
only
a
within
minority
the bounds
religion
of the United Kingdom?
Yeah, within the bounds of the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
But that's not. I don't think it's a punching up or down. Criticising any religion. Some people would find it adverse, regardless of whatever religion you're criticising. I think that some people would say it. Some people would say it's actually fair game. They should all be criticised and mocked. We have a long history of mocking religions in this country, and I think that should be fair game. We live in a society of free speech.
Yeah.
The problem is, Sebastian, is that time and time again, people feel this government is cracking down on that free speech for absolutely zero reason. There are hate speech laws. There are hate laws in this country. If you do something to deeply, deeply offend somebody, as we've seen with Hamid Kuskan, that's gone too far, frankly. So why do we need more of it? That's the question. Why is there an advisory group where essentially what the Free Speech Union are alleging, 5 out of 5 of them all seem to agree that there should be a definition, and none of them seem to disagree with that.
This is exactly the point I'm trying to make to you. This is not a law, and that's not my opinion. That is just
a fact. It could be weaponised in a court of law.
How?
All right.
This could be weaponised.
Lauren, what do you think
So
of this?
the reason why this whole train started going was because there's a large section of the Muslim population of this country who vote for the Labour Party. Under the last government, the government accepted the International Holocaust Remembrance Association's definition of anti-Semitism, which puts on paper very clearly that criticism of Israel cannot be used as a criticism of Jewish people as individuals, and then that the merging,
more of an ethnic group.
The merging of those two thought streams was anti-Semitism in a way that upset people who protested in this country about Palestine and about Gaza in ways that I feel were anti-Semitic, and that I think the law would probably support me on. There was therefore a feeling in the Muslim community, a large portion of whom were voting for the Labour Party, that there should be a mirror doctrine. And now the problem is what we adopted as what the government adopted in the previous round was a definition laid down by an organisation called the International Holocaust Remembrance Association, a definition that had been worked out with an enormous group of international stakeholders over years and years and years to try and work out how we could divorce Judaism from the concept of criticising the state of Israel. And there is no such overarching global hierarchy of organisation like IHRA, which is a global organisation that has laid down a definition that's acceptable here. So what the government has done instead, in order to appease a vote that is beginning to split off from the Labour Party and which they would like to have back, is they're trying to create their own within government, and they are walking into an absolute minefield of creating blasphemy laws by the back door.
Very, very brief comment. Go on, Adam.
So basically, listening to that, it's a political decision for votes.
Because Islamophobia is at a record high. It makes perfect
sense. So is anti-Semitism.
For which we have hate crime legislation.
Which is also awful.
But it hasn't stopped
for which we have hate crime legislation.
That's the problem, Sebastian, is even though the anti-Semitism laws exist, it hasn't stopped a massive spike in it. And all it does is shut down debate, and these laws are used to control free speech in Britain, when actually the laws already exist.
They're not laws.
Not necessary.
Meanwhile, we have hate crime legislation.
Okay, right, we've got to go.
We have that already.
I've run out of time and I have a lot of reading to do, so everyone can hear. Dominic Grieve has told GB News. He says, I did not support the APPG definition of Islamophobia. I was not a member of the APPG. I wrote a foreword to the APPG report, which covered much more than a definition and said it was an important contribution to a needed debate. I suggest that you look at the Citizens UK report on the missing Muslims to see what it was about, rather than rely on an opinion of the Free Speech Union. On the tweets appearing to support Hamas, Baroness Gohir said on X, when referring to resistance in Gaza, she meant emotional, legal and civil society activism. She says posts have been selected to appear. She supports Hamas on the accusation by the Times of hosting an extremist in Parliament. She also said, I wasn't in charge of the invite list. The charity organised the event and no one said anything, so this is the first I'm hearing. And on the Manchester airport comments, she previously told The Telegraph, I have never defended the criminal actions of Mohammed Fahir Hamas, and I welcomed his conviction. We also went to Akila Ahmed for comment, but did not receive a response. All right, loads more coming up on the show. If you want a chance at winning our new Great British giveaway, here are all the details you're going to need.
You could win cash and the ultimate holiday in our two-part Great British giveaway. Thanks to Riviera Travel, you could be jetting off on a £10,000 dream holiday for two people. With flights, transfers and luxury accommodation included, you'll get to choose the kind of holiday you want. So whether you're looking for hotel comfort or on a relaxing river cruise, you'll be able to find the perfect match from over 30 global destinations on offer. And because the holiday is handpicked with you in mind, you know it's going to be perfect. Plus, we're going to give you £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. Your summer can start here, so make sure you don't miss out.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, up next, Restore Britain has launched. Is it going to split or unite the right? That's coming up next on Alex Armstrong Tonight.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk then? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Nana Queer, weekends from 3 p.m.
They really are helping people to feel fuller for longer, and that really is the mechanism of the weight loss jab, is that it's making you feel very satiated. It's really slowing down your digestive function, so your body's actually taking a lot longer to break down the food that you have eaten, and therefore people are eating a lot smaller portions, sometimes skipping meals altogether, which is causing some other concerns, but it is resulting in then some really dramatic weight loss results.
Now, of course, for some people, this is great because there are some people who are morbidly obese and all the sort of comorbidities that come with that. So, you know, diabetes, you know, heart disease, all those other things. These tablets or these injections are helping people to avoid those. But what are the costs that it comes with?
Yeah, I think this is what's really important to talk about, the fact that we do know that there are other comorbidities when people are living in larger bodies, but actually when it comes to using any medication, we've got to use it as a tool and not as it's the only thing we do and we carry on regardless. With these weight loss medications, the side effects that we're seeing and the side effects that are continuing to be listed become more and more concerning. So there are fairly sort of everyday, sometimes too often normalised side effects such as nausea, reflux, gastritis, diarrhea, constipation. There is way too much normalisation around those side effects happening.
And of course, reflux can be quite dangerous because of esophageal cancers.
Absolutely.
And also rotting of teeth.
Yes.
And also affecting the vocal cords, and that sort of thing can lead to certain cancers, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. All these side effects are the body trying to let us know that it's struggling and it's not doing as well as it would like to do. But we've also got other more concerning side effects such as pancreatitis, gallstones. We're seeing a rise in gallbladder removal surgery, potentially some issues with the kidneys if dehydration becomes an issue as well.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Well, on GB News earlier on today, Reform UK's Zia Youssef refused to rule out a right-wing coalition amid the threat of an increasingly divided right and the prospect of a strong Lib, Green pact.
Prospect of some kind of Lib, Green coalition, if that beat Reform on its own, you'd have to start doing deals with the right, wouldn't you?
Well, that's a big if, right? And in that hypothetical scenario, you'd have to do it the patriotic thing. But ultimately, reform
so you
is
would have
reform.
To do the patriotic.
Well, no, but hold on.
This is following the launch of Rupert Lowe's new political party, Restore Britain. In its launch video, he said the party would not include failed ministers or those tainted by failures of the past in an apparent swipe at Reform's Tory defectors. Well, joining me to discuss this is Director of Investigations for Restore Britain, Lewis Bragpool. Lewis, thank you so much for joining me this evening to talk about this big story, of course, been going very viral on social media over the last 24 hours. First of all, will this splinter the right? Reform, you know, polling at 30 points in the polls at the moment. There has been a poll come out that shows that Restore, even, beg your pardon, would poll at 10%, although there's some people saying it's a little bit dubious to poll. Tell me a little bit more about it.
Well, firstly, thank you so much, Alex, for having me on. It's great to see you and finally actually to have a conversation, because we've been meaning to do that for quite a while now. Look, in 2 days, I mean, it's been pretty incredible that we've managed to hit 50,000 members today after the announcement of the Restore Britain turning into a political party and launching this. You mentioned about the mainstream poll as well, and that's put us on 10% already in just 2 days, which is fantastic. And we've announced our first councillor as well, Maria, who's fantastic and is going to do a fantastic job. Look, 3 years we've got until 2029 or less now, and that's a long time within politics. But within 2 days, we've managed to do this, and we're building fast momentum already. In regards to Zia, and this hypothetical scenario that's been sort of thrown out there, whether it happens or not, we have to remember, Alex, and I'm being totally honest with you, this is the same Zia Yusuf that wanted to put Rupert Lowe in prison on false accusations. And clearly he's seeing, and Reform are seeing in general, the threat of the political party Restore Britain now. And it's only just been announced several days ago. And yeah, there's lots to talk about, of course, but that's my initial thoughts.
Of course, Zia Yusuf's not here to defend himself, and he would refute the claims, of course. Lewis, you know, it's taken Reform 6 years, millions and millions of pounds. They're only just getting ready to fight local elections, and, you know, even still, if there are a general election tomorrow, would they be ready? That's a question mark around Reform UK. Do you really think Restore can be ready by a snap general election, let's call it as early as next year?
Well, look at what's happened in 2 days, the momentum we've built on 2 days. On just X alone, Rupert Lowe, after the launch, has reached over 30 million views. That's just on X alone, pushing what we are pushing over at Restore with our messaging. It's incredibly important, Alex, because unfortunately, because people are angry and upset with Reform, because, like you mentioned in your segment about the Tory defections, we don't want to be a refugee camp for failed ministers. We don't want to be a refugee camp for careerist politicians, so we won't be taking senior Tory politicians, Labour, Fabian Society members, as we know some of the defections well. I know you've done great work on that as well, Alex. You know, Green candidates, Bangladeshi nationalists, we don't want any of that. So I believe that the momentum is building very, very quickly in just those 2 days, and I think we've got a good chance.
All right, well, let me bring in, if you don't mind, Lewis, Adam Brooks is here with me this evening, so I'd like to bring him into the conversation. Adam, what would you say about Restore Britain? Do you think they have a shot at winning the next general election?
Look, I upset a lot of people last night by saying it is my opinion that Restore do not have a chance if there is an election within the next 2 or 3 years. That really upset a lot of people. I want to clarify, I know Rupert Lowe, I know Ben Habib, they're good men, and I stand by a lot of what they say, and I support a lot of what they say. I've been sharing the rape gang inquiry stuff as well online for Rupert. But it's a bit of realism here. You said about the 30 million views on X. When Elon Musk retweets you, you get millions. I've had millions of views on a tweet that Elon Musk retweeted me. So we need to sort of just pull back a little bit of realism here as well. And 10% in the poll, one poll that wasn't slightly conducted the way that other polls are. Now, that's great for yous if that's true. I would just like to see across a number of polls where you actually sit. And that's going to be a while until we know that. Look, when it comes to Reform attacking Restore supporters and the other way round, I've taken a lot of flack and some pretty nasty stuff over the last 24 hours. Not going to name names or anything like that. You just have to be careful that some of the extreme groups that are jumping on this, you know, this announcement by yourself, and they are nothing to do with Restore. I want to make that clear. But there's some real nastiness going on overnight on X.
Well, let's put this to you then, Lewis. Is it, you know, Reform when they first started also had difficulty managing candidate lists and getting the right people on board? You remember in the lead to the election, even Nigel Farage said it was a disaster leading up to that election because, of course, they couldn't vet people properly. Are you going to have that same problem?
Well, I'd like to think no, because we're learning from the mistakes from Reform and what they have done over the past few years. Look, it's been 2 days since we've actually launched, announced about the launch. So there's a lot of work to do, but we're very confident. We have a competent, brilliant team behind Rupert Lowe, supporting him and helping with this project. And to be honest, people are upset and angry, like I've said, about Reform and where they're going. So really, the people to blame on this idea of splitting the right or whatever, Blame Reform, because they are the ones that have created this. They are the ones that decided to go down a different route and decided to side with the establishment. So that is all I'm going to say on that personally. But also, it's good to see you, Adam, as well. We must catch up.
I respect the work you're doing. Well done as well.
Anything else to add, Adam? On
no, I just want. There's lots of lies that go on X and on social media. Let's just also remind that Reform are being quite strong in their narrative on foreigners getting benefits in the future, on stopping and getting us out the EHR, on stopping indefinite leave to remain. So there's a lot of people saying Reform are not going to be strong on immigration and they're not going to tackle this. I believe they are, otherwise I wouldn't be supporting them. I sit down with a lot of Reform MPs and I believe generally what they say. I can see what the problem is where people say foul Tory. I don't know why they hired Nadeem Zahari. For me, that was madness. And I called that out on shows like this and on X. So, you know, I do not think Reform are a perfect party. They're learning. But let's remember, they could have, if it possibly goes the way the polls are going, 300-odd MPs. Now, to have 10, 12 former Tory MPs is tiny in the big picture, but that is what is made a lot of from what I can see. Look, I'm sticking with what I believe, and I respect Restore, respect the leaders of Restore, and we'll see how this pans out. But I just think there's a lot of people being unrealistic overnight and maybe getting a little ahead of themselves with the excitement.
Lewis, do you see a situation where, you know, you get to the general election and that maybe if Adam is correct and the reality sits in with you guys and you go, actually, we're only polling realistically 5%, we might put Labour back into government. Could you see yourselves backing a right-wing political party of any colour?
Look, with regards to that, look, it's above my pay grade to say anything about deals or anything like that. I am the Director of Investigations. That is my current role at the minute, and I'm going to help build this party behind the scenes as well, because we feel as though it is a duty to give to the British people, because we have been let down time and time again, and we are sick and tired of political parties turning to the establishment, which we believe that Reform has, considering with the defections, how they've treated Rupert Lowe as well in the past, and now it's just game on. So yeah, we're going to take the votes.
All right, Lewis Brackpool, I really appreciate you coming on. I know you're not the political dog here. You're Director of Investigation, so I really do appreciate that. Thank you very much, Lewis Brackpool. Pleasure to have you on the show.
Lewis.
Right, coming up, we're going to go to all of tomorrow's front pages, including the Times reporting a child social media ban could come into effect this year. Also,
are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in what is it?
Area 51.
Area 51.
What? What? They're real? All right, that's coming up soon.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're heading to Europe this half term, well, it's a mixed bag out there. Outbreaks of rain and some heavy showers and thunderstorms. Best of the sunshine, though, really confined to the Canary Islands and towards the south of Spain. Otherwise, outbreaks of rain across Portugal and northern Spain. Across the Mediterranean, that's where we're going to see areas of showers and thunderstorms pushing their way through. Otherwise, best of the sunshine really across the Canary Islands, highs of 25.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's been an unsettled end towards the weekend, which will spill over into Monday and be an unsettled start to the week. But as we head towards Tuesday, we do see the return of some sunshine and some brighter spells. But for the time being, though, we still have this larger low pressure system in charge, and we do have these weather fronts coming in this northwesterly breeze, which is driving these showers through much of the evening and through the overnight period. There are a few breaks across the southeast and across the northeast as well. Now, across the northeast, the temperatures are likely to fall away, so we are expecting to see a bit of a frost across Aberdeenshire by Monday morning. Not so much towards the south. We are clinging on to relatively milder air for this time of year for the overnight period. But for the commuters, first thing Monday morning, there will be some brighter spells across southeastern England and across the southwest as well. But further north, we do have much more in the way of cloud, and a lot of these showers, especially across northern Scotland and those high hills, are likely to turn to snow by the early part of the morning. Like I said, a crisp start across Aberdeenshire. Likely to see some frosty patches here, so do take care first thing in the morning. But Monday is going to be a similar day towards Sunday. A lot of those showers around. Some of them could combine towards longer spells of rain across central and southern England. But between those showers, there will be some sunnier spells as well across the south and northeast of England, even parts of northern Scotland as well. But some wintry showers up towards here, which will be rather cold and snowy across those higher hills. Tuesday, a different story. A cold start to Tuesday. Plenty of frost and ice around Scotland, northern England and Northern Ireland, but bright, plenty of sunshine. A few showers just across the northeastern coast, maybe a little bit hazy towards the southwest. But through the week, we will see the return of rain, but temperatures, we will be struggling, and it will be on the cold side.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the show. I've got your front pages here. Should we go through them together? The Telegraph. Trump to give Quran burner US refuge. Oof, that's a bit of a shocker for a front page in the UK, isn't it? It's not good for us. The Guardian revealed the true toll of suicides with domestic abuse at their core. The I paper. UK to cut Russia defence fund as Kremlin poison threat revealed. The Metro. Cooper. Truth is antidote to Putin's poison. The Independent. It's dark, it's cold, it's endless. All right, let's get the thoughts of my panel, and we should really talk about this Trump to give Quran burner US refuge. It is not a good look for Britain, which doesn't have blasphemy laws, by the way. If Hamid Kuskan loses his case, Lauren, it's all going to hit the fan with the US, essentially, where they're going to go, there's no free speech in Britain anymore.
Well, I mean, this is largely an extension of the reason the United States was founded to begin with, which was a form of religious liberty that people were not finding within Europe anymore. It's part of my mother's American, and what she always said was that the reason why the Americans were so odd about booze and sort of really maniacally puritanical is because the United States was founded off Puritans who were basically booted from Europe for being too puritanical. So, there's a long history in the United States of picking up people who are, in some form of religious trouble somewhere else, and this can be viewed sort of as an extension of that. It's also a great way of Donald Trump, putting the boot into someone, and today the boot's us, and tomorrow it'll be the French or the Germans or someone else.
He hates Keir Starmer, come on.
He just hates everything.
Go on, Adam, what do you think of it? Because it would be a damning indictment for us, particularly as we say we don't have blasphemy laws. It would basically be like a blasphemy law through the back door, this would be, and the US would go, well, there you go. That's exactly what people like Marco Rubio, JD Vance have been saying for a very long time.
Can I spin the angle on
Feel free.
this?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the guy that came at him with a knife, put him on the floor, was seen on camera with a huge knife, I think spat at him from the video that we see, assaulted him, didn't go to prison. He had a huge knife.
Yeah, I think that's bonkers. Yeah.
Out of that, that was the most scary thing for me.
I mean, to be fair, no one goes to prison.
We're now allowed people to swing knives at people, assault them on the floor, spit on them, and they won't get prison.
Did he get a suspended sentence? I can't remember.
But he didn't
Something like that.
He did not go to prison.
Yeah.
But this is a bad indictment for this country, that the US are watching us and saying we do not have free speech in this country. Again, I'll go again. I believe Donald Trump absolutely detests Keir Starmer. And I think he's had enough of us, and he will do anything to make us look bad. And to give refuge to someone from this country, look, for me, that's game over for the Labour government.
It's not a good look, Sebastian.
Yeah, look, I mean, I would challenge the point about Trump hating Starmer. I think making it personal is very limiting in fact, should we put it?
Plus, if he wanted to make it personal, he cancelled the Chagos deal, and he hasn't done that.
Well, this is it. This is it. There are many ways you can make Starmer's life difficult, and Trump has chosen not to do that.
Well, he did call it like the worst deal of all time at one point.
And then
he turned around and said,
someone else went into a room with him and he got a different line.
Dirty words. Listen, look, when you step back on the front page of this Telegraph front page here, on the top left, we've got Trump to give Quran burner US refuge. On the bottom right, we've got Starmer under fire over journalist smears. On the bottom, we've got democracy denied to 15 million voters if elections are delayed again. It is a damning indictment. If an American was to look at this to go, what on earth is going on in Britain? Well, it's good news, I guess, for Keir Starmer that we'll be talking about aliens, because apparently Barack Obama's basically confirmed they're real. Have a little look at this.
First question you wanted answered when you became president?
Where are the aliens?
Yeah, where are the aliens? We'll find out after the break, and we'll talk more about these headlines.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Venice is being invaded by cannibalistic jellyfish with vanishing bottoms, and they're wreaking havoc across the city's fragile lagoon ecosystem. Well, it is indeed Tom's favourite time of the day. Tom Harwood, over to you.
Not many people know this, but the B in GB News actually stands for biology, marine biology, that is. So welcome to Marine Biology Corner. We're going to have a look at what is a remarkable jellyfish. Let me just set the scene with some water here. And this is known as the warty comb jelly. Some people call it the sea walnut, because this particular jellyfish has basically a pretty stationary lifestyle. It looks like it's almost not moving, but there are some remarkable things about this jellyfish. Number one, it is a hermaphrodite. So let's just sort of, yes, it's a hermaphrodite. It can reproduce by itself and choose whether to use large or small gametes in order to do so. I'll let your imaginations run wild on that. It's also functionally immortal. This jellyfish is one of those sorts of jellyfish that can actually revert back to an early life stage. It can sort of reverse its own puberty and then go through those life cycles again and again and again. Functionally immortal unless something eats it. But perhaps the most concerning thing about this particular jellyfish is it's got a transient anus. Now, what does that mean? That means that when this jellyfish needs to excrete, an anus appears. But then once the excretion is over, the anus just completely disappears again.
GB News, the People's Channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Got some more front pages for you. Look at this one. It's the Sun. 500 grand phone compo for migrants. Czechs breached human rights. Fury as they pocket 6,500 quid each. I know GB News viewers are going to be absolutely infuriated reading that headline. We'll talk about that in just a second. The Times. Under 16 social media ban may happen this year. The Express. Switch on the lights to make our streets safer. The Daily Mail. So what are the police waiting for? The Mirror. The Great British Water Shame. All right, look, let's talk about the front page of The Sun here, because, you know, this is the sort of stuff that really gets under my skin, and I know it really winds up at least most of the British public, I would have thought at this point, Adam, particularly our viewers.
I'm disgusted. We have a government that puts migrant rights above British people's rights, local people's rights. We should have a human right to safe streets, to safe communities. Yet our government is importing these men, and some heinous crimes are occurring against our women and our children. And now we have some of these men that are breaking into the country illegally, getting up to £6,500 compensation.
Let me tell you why, because this is the interesting bit, right? It's because we've been taking their phones off of them, right? This is what it is. High Court judges ruled nabbing the phones and data was illegal and a breach of the European human rights laws. 1,300 migrants may apply for compensation, and the sum could run into millions. This is where this 6,500 quid figure each could work out to.
Can you imagine how many Brits are watching this programme now thinking, I could really do with £6,500? Yet we've got men breaking into this country illegally and basically lawyers playing the system to give them money. This is a punch in the gut for us Brits.
OK, let's play it like this. Adam, would you like to have your phone taken and your data breached?
Let me just say, if I break into a country illegally, I'd expect a beating, let alone my phone being taken off me.
We'll get to that, but let's focus on this question. Would you like to have your phone taken and your data breached?
I'll repeat that for the viewers. If I break into a country illegally, I'd be lucky not to be beaten up in a cell by the authorities.
So you're not really answering my question there, Adam. You're asking a different question. Because
this is what they are doing.
If you had your phone and your data accessed, would you be annoyed about that?
And I'm repeating for the third time.
OK, third time I've had my question ignored.
I'm beginning to work out why they sat me in the middle of this. But I'll tell you a group of people who will be incredibly ticked off by this. When women bring a rape allegation against somebody, one of the things that happens is that their phone gets taken from them as part of the investigation. The backlog and the inability of police to deal with those phones means that those phones get taken away for months and almost sometimes years at a time. They don't get them back. They don't get compensation to go and buy a new one. It's just with the police, and that's it. Where's their compensation under the human rights law?
Completely fair. Absolutely
because those are the people who should be really aggrieved by that. And then if we can go back to what we glossed over fairly quickly, which is the Guardian front page, which is, by the way, the same headline I've spoken about here before. Currently, under a domestic abuse death registration in this country, if a woman who is being abused at home commits suicide, that is not chalked up as a domestic abuse death. Right. And so we have no idea the number of women who are dying from domestic abuse at home. It's none whatsoever.
And that's terrible. Can we also, away from the abuse side, can we also remind viewers that 70% of suicides in this country are men?
Yes,
and that
indeed,
men go through a lot as well. Not undermining your abuse.
Including 50% of domestic abusers will recommit the crime within a year.
Yeah, I'm not undermining your abuse case. No. Anyone that abuses a woman indoors deserves prison.
So yeah, if we're going to give phone compensation for migrants having their phones pinched at the border, presumably so that they can't advertise their border crossing on TikTok, which is what they've been doing previously, then I think we should have some thought for the women whose phones go into the system for rape allegations and never come out again.
Yeah, I guess, again, we're going to talk more about this coming up shortly. Sebastian, I guess the problem is people will rightly point to what Lauren's saying, very, very well said, Lauren, but they'll also say, really? I mean, come on, they're going to get benefits here, they're going to get so much given to them for free. We need to check that they're not criminals and terrorists coming into the country, and one of the ways we can do that is by looking at their phones.
And we need to make sure they aren't advertising the route.
We will talk about this more, I promise you that, on Alex Armstrong tonight, a late edition. But before that, we're going to get your weather. See you in 2.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's been an unsettled end towards the weekend, which will spill over into Monday and be an unsettled start to the week. But as we head towards Tuesday, we do see the return of some sunshine and some brighter spells. But for the time being, though, we still have this larger low pressure system in charge, and we do have these weather fronts coming in this northwesterly breeze, which is driving these showers through much of the evening and through the overnight period. There are a few breaks across the southeast and across the northeast as well. Now across the northeast the temperatures are likely to fall away, so we are expecting to see a bit of a frost across Aberdeenshire by Monday morning. Not so much towards the south. We are clinging on to relatively milder air for this time of year for the overnight period. But for the commuters, first thing Monday morning, there will be some brighter spells across southeastern England and across the southwest as well. But further north, we do have much more in the way of cloud, and a lot of these showers, especially across northern Scotland and those high hills, are likely to turn to snow by the early part of the morning. Like I said, a crisp start across Aberdeenshire. Likely to see some frosty patches here, so do take care first thing in the morning. But Monday is going to be a similar day towards Sunday. A lot of those showers around. Some of them could combine towards longer spells of rain across central and southern England. But between those showers, there will be some sunnier spells as well across the south and northeast of England, even parts of northern Scotland as well. But some wintry showers up towards here, which will be rather cold and snowy across those higher hills. Tuesday, a different story. A cold start to Tuesday. Plenty of frost and ice around Scotland, northern England and Northern Ireland, but bright, plenty of sunshine. A few showers just across the northeastern coast, maybe a little bit hazy towards the southwest. But through the week, we will see the return of rain, but temperatures we will be struggling, and it will be on the cold side.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
A bombshell Sun exclusive on their front page tonight. Migrants could be getting up to £6,500 each in compensation because we took their phones off them when they arrived here. What do you think about that? We'll be talking about that one, trust me. The Daily Telegraph is kind of damning for the state of Britain. It really is. Trump to give Quran burner US refuge. Starmer under fire over journalist smears. Democracy denied to 15 million voters if elections are delayed again. Goodness me, it's not a good look for us, is it? On top of the front page of the Times here, workers' rights reforms push a third of employers to cut hiring. Well, that explains a lot. That's all coming up next.
Make sure you don't miss the chance to grab an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. And that's not all. Courtesy of Riviera Travel, there's a terrific £10,000 holiday for two to be won. Choose from over 30 worldwide destinations like Thailand, South Africa or even Sri Lanka. There's just 2 weeks left to enter. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19, PO Box 8690, Derby, DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co.